Okay, hello and welcome to another episode of my podcast, Hiring and Inspiring. Today's guest is Igor Hadziomerovic. I hope I haven't butchered that, mate.
I did well,
Igor,
mate.
good stuff. Igor joins me on the show today, fellow I guess sales professional. He works for a business called Atlas as an expansion manager. He's worked in sales for a number of years after transitioning from a background in the sporting industry. So I'm really excited to have a chat to him today, find out a bit more about his journey, how he's getting on his current role, learn a bit from him, and yeah, hopefully he can share some of his wisdom. So Igor, with that introduction, mate, over to you. How are you getting on?
Yeah. Oh, thanks for the introduction, Joe, and for having me. I'm very excited to be on. Getting on well.
Good.
Yeah, like you said, sort of Atlas is a fairly new business here in Australia.
Yeah.
Started our team in September last year, actually. So more sort of that startup scale up. But
Okay.
yeah, getting on well and sort of hitting the ground running as we head into this new year.
Yeah, good stuff. So if we start with the present, in the current role as I guess, expansion manager, what's the sort of the nature of your role? Day to day, what are you doing? How are you helping your customers?
Yeah, for sure. That's a very good question. Yeah, the role is more on the commercial side. So it's focused on customer acquisition and the customer journey. So
Okay.
yeah, just obviously trying to find, which businesses in Australia are suited, to our service offering,
Yeah.
ensuring it's a smooth process for them and they understand the risks involved with expanding overseas. Just to give you a bit of context in terms of what we do, we help businesses basically expand into markets or regions overseas where they don't have an
Yeah.
entity present. So
Okay.
yeah, it's just sort of educating the market at this stage on what we do.
So who would be, I don't know, an ideal or an example type customer that you help?
Yeah, yeah. So I would say what we're finding is, your tech startups, Series B funding, looking
Yeah.
to scale overseas,
Yeah.
um, and your larger orgs, so engineering orgs, looking to put on projects overseas countries where they don't have
Yeah. Okay.
presence.
And what's your actual service offering? What are you providing to them exactly?
Yeah, yeah. So our service offering is we provide the onboarding, compliance, and employment contracts
Okay. Oh, okay.
initially, and then yeah, we pay them monthly as they're put on as a
Mm.
sort of Atlas employee, but they're
Yeah.
managed by the company that's on their behalf. So
Yeah,
yeah,
gotcha.
yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. So I know it's sort of relatively early days. It's sort of what,
Mm.
6 months or so into doing the role, or maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, I'd
Um,
say yeah, yeah.
how's it all been going? How are you finding it?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been challenging, as you
Mm,
probably know, setting up a new thing and
mm,
getting your voice heard out there in the market. It can always be
yeah,
tough, but yeah, with that comes a lot of excitement and hard work. So we've onboarded a few customers and we're learning a lot during this phase
yeah,
and sort of tweaking a few things. But so far, it's gone really well. But yeah, like we have our challenges and sort of
yeah.
things we run into.
What's the main? How do you getting your name out there, right?
Mm,
How in terms of that, yourself, your own name, your own brand, your company. How are you going about that? In terms of attacking that new market.
mm.
Well, I guess what's the strategy?
Yeah, this the strategy at the moment is sort of that education piece because
Yeah,
yeah, not a lot of people know what an employer of record is or what we
yeah,
do. Um, we're lucky to ride off some of the coattails from our competitors, but like
yeah,
right now, yeah, doing a lot of webinars, events,
yeah.
speaking, yeah, customers, and sort of educating them that there is this option out there that you can sort of tackle your issues this way. So
Yeah. But prior to say getting that webinar or demo or whatever, how do you go about it? Is it like are you picking up the phone, cold calling? Are you doing a bunch on LinkedIn? What's your sort of sales process at the moment?
yeah, yeah, for sure. I think cold calling not as much.
Yeah.
What we're finding is, and this is my opinion, it's a bit of a dated sort of strategy. It
Okay.
can
Yeah.
work, but in terms of what we're doing is a lot of sort of social presence.
Mm.
A lot of the buyers are informed in terms of being able to look online. So we're just trying to pop up on their feed, get conversations going on LinkedIn and
Yeah.
socially, and then sort of starting conversations that way.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
yeah,
Really sort of pushing the social selling rather than old school, 100 phone calls a day.
Yeah. That's sort of what we're finding is working at the moment. So it's been good.
Yeah, cool. And personally, mate, doing a fully remote role, for this business, how are you finding it? Not necessarily being in the hub of an office or being amongst your peers all the time. How are you finding that side of things?
Yeah, I've been enjoying, I guess, the flexibility and
Yeah,
being able to work when I can,
yeah,
or when I want. It's been really good. I think the biggest challenge is having that sort of, communication with people or running in ideas by each other and, even the
yeah,
social interactions. Like, I think that's quite important. But, we do a really good job of running online events or catching up via Zoom and Teams. So,
yeah,
yeah, it's been quite challenging, the adjustment, because my previous role, it was 3 days in the office,
mm,
and now it's zero. So
yeah.
yeah, it's a bit of an adjustment for sure.
And where's the rest of the team at the moment? Where are they based?
Yeah, so in Australia, they're based Sydney, Queensland, Byron Bay,
Yeah,
and a few scattered in other places.
yeah,
And then the majority of who we report to is in the APAC region. So they're all
gotcha,
Hong Kong, China, and things like that. So it's
gotcha.
quite diverse. Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. And you're obviously in growth mode as a bit of a startup. What does the future look like for the company? What are you sort of envisioning the next 6 months, year look like at Atlas?
Yeah. I guess for us here in Australia, it's really establishing that market presence. There are a couple of competitors that are ahead of the game a little bit.
Yeah,
So it's just, setting up an office, maybe having a few employees on site, and a few sort of marquee customers.
yeah,
Holistically, the APAC region is like a big focus for us. We're projected, 50 to 60% growth over the next 3 years in this region. So, yeah, we're really focusing on, making sort of indent in that market.
mm,
Yeah, whether it's through hiring, customer acquisition, etc. So,
yeah, cool. Lots happening.
yeah.
Great. But just you touched upon it previously. Your background when you were working in the office, your previous role, you were at ELMO, is that right?
Yeah. Almost software.
At ELMO Software, yeah. So previous, another software business. How do you look back on your time with those guys? Because correct me if I'm wrong. That was your sort of first role in the software sales side of things.
Mm.
You're there for a few years. How do you sort of reflect on that time?
Yeah. Well, I was actually in recruitment before that, so it was a completely different sort of sale.
Yeah,
It took a bit of an adjustment period.
sure.
It was less transactional, more solution based and
Mm,
consultative. So it took me about sort of 6 months to hit the ground running.
mm,
But yeah, I learned a lot because at that stage we were a scale up in the sort of SMB space.
yeah,
So yeah, a lot of the things that are carried over from that role to this role, I can see some synergies.
yeah,
Just sort of getting the name out there and growing that, I guess, market awareness.
yeah,
But yeah, it was very challenging at the start. I
yeah.
can definitely, remember I was trying to sort of close people on the spot, like you do with recruitment, and it was not working at all.
What do you mean, mate? We never do that.
But yeah, no, it was a good experience. Good experience.
Yeah, and that was obviously your first sort of, I guess, proper sales role in the IT space. What did you learn? It seems like it was a real sort of training ground for you. What were your main lessons learned, maybe about sales or even yourself from that time period?
Yeah, I think the biggest lesson I learned was, I guess, with a complex sale, just the different pieces moving, and the decisions being made. There's more than just one person.
Okay.
So stakeholder management and those initial discovery meetings, really digging deep from each person's perspective and seeing what they care about.
Yeah.
And then whether it's personal, I guess, or political, just understanding that and being able to, I guess, position it later on to,
Yeah.
help them achieve their goals. So yeah, that's sort of the biggest takeaway for me was getting that repetition in.
With those more sort of complex sales cycles and processes with those companies, it sounds like there's often more than one decision maker, right? Is that correct?
Yeah,
Within So
absolutely.
is it more about how do you go about doing that? When you sort of do you find like what do they call it, like a champion within the business? Then that's your in the person that you want to get really bought into what you do and what you're selling, and then you lean off the back of them. Is that the strategy that you tend to put in place, or how did you do it?
Yeah, that's sort of my first strategy, is finding that person who really cares the most and really likes what we do. and then they
Mm.
can sort of sell it back to the business. Sometimes you'd run into people who are just sort of evaluating you just to tick off a list.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So my strategy there is typically to sort of bring them to ground zero and at least make them neutral, and then maybe get an introduction to some of the other key stakeholders to position our, I guess, product more superior to the others or to their needs. So,
Yeah.
yeah, there was a few different ways I went about it, but yeah, that initial thing that you said with the champion strategy is sort of the
Yeah.
way.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that time with Elmo, you did a bit of managing as well, right? You look after a few reports.
Yeah,
How
yes.
do you look back at that time?
Yeah, it was really good. I learnt a lot. So was helping more on sort of the recruitment and training side.
Okay.
Yeah, helping our team, new team members come on board and our sales cycle and sort of, teaching them, what it typically looks like, what to watch out for and
Mm.
things you might run into. And then, yeah, also recruitment, seeing, interviewing, etc.
Mm.
So, yeah.
How did you find that?
Yeah, it was actually pretty tough managing it with a, revenue generating role.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it actually. I think, for me, sales sort of leadership or leadership in any sense is something that, really interests me.
Yeah.
And I think the joy I get out of it is actually helping the person, achieve their goals,
Mm.
what they set out to, and just having that camaraderie within the team. It's a pretty cool feeling.
Yeah. What
Um,
what makes a good leader in your eyes?
I think someone who listens, is supportive, and can be hands off, but as well as, when they need to step in and help,
Yeah.
um, they're there for you. Uh, but for me, it's just sort of having that emotional intelligence to understand when to sort of poke and prod and when to sort of pull away.
Mm.
Um, and knowing the person you're leading obviously is very important in their motivations. Yeah, I feel like there's a bunch of different things you can consider when talking about a good leader and, leadership styles. But I guess that's sort of for me most important.
Yeah. And future, yeah, do you still have sort of harbor ambitions to be, one day back into leadership in a sales capacity?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, hopefully we can, do a good job here and we can hire
Yeah.
some more people and, I can help some others, achieve their goals and through Atlas, build something special. So that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, of
So,
course. Yeah. Nice.
yeah, it would be pretty cool to sort of get back in that type of
Yeah.
position.
And you touched upon when you were sort of still had you had a target, right, as well in that role. That's something I think a lot of people struggle with when they progress into leadership. They're quite used to being hands-on closing deals, and then suddenly they're in charge of other people as well. And often with a role, it sounds like the same as yours. It's a balancing act between doing a bit of managing, still out in the front line. How
Mm.
did you find that? Like, how did you find that transition and balancing those two things? Because I know a lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to have a pretty good mentor in my recruitment role. I'm sure you experience it firsthand, recruiters, whether you're a manager or not, you still got a number to hit. So,
Absolutely, yeah,
yeah, watching him in my early sales career, being able to manage, I guess, the team effectively and understanding each person's needs, and
yeah,
then also, you know, being able to hit their number, I think it's all down to sort of time management and priorities.
mm,
And I think people who can, I guess, juggle those two things usually are successful.
yeah.
I guess,
It's, I
oh,
think a lot of people just struggle to let go. They sort of they think about like when they kind of they struggle, like they want to be selling all the time, and
mm,
or they're closing deals all the time. When they progress into management, they struggle, like they're not, their potential is being limited. Or I think you have to just make a deal with yourself that you might not make as much as you used to, or you might not quite be able to spend as much time. I think it's
mm,
just about accepting and making a bit of a deal for yourself with yourself, sorry, and just balancing it up with that time management. I think you're
yeah,
spot on.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I guess sacrificing yourself, at times,
Yeah.
yeah, to help the team succeed is definitely a big point. Um, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, mate, we've got to touch on your recruitment experience.
Yeah, knew that was coming.
What are you? I don't know. Obviously, a few years ago now.
Mm,
Um, you know, couple, or was it just under a year, right, in recruitment? How do you look back on that time?
Yeah, it was about a year and a half.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
No, it's okay. Yeah, half a year is like 2 years in recruitment, so I just wanted to point that out. I mean, I respect, recruiters for everything they do. It was a really good learning experience for me.
Yeah,
It's I would say one of the toughest jobs that I've had to face.
yeah,
In terms of even playing professionally in sport, it'd be right up there.
yeah,
Um, I guess just the pressure and managing your workload in terms of what I learned the most there was being able to juggle multiple things at times, whether it's your candidate care, bringing new clients on board, and um, I guess yeah, it's a role that I think it's a good entry point for sales.
mm,
Just because I was at People to People, which is a great sort of training ground.
yeah,
They taught us, how to business develop and at the same time how to interview candidates and how to marry up the
mm,
two and sort of be successful in your role. And um, looking at sort of my previous experience as a professional sports player, I kind of like carried over with some of those, attributes of,
yeah,
resilience and being able to sort of manage pressure and things like that. But yeah, I guess my journey was, I was at People to People and then my manager moved and then
okay,
I moved with my manager and then,
okay,
yeah, went to De Novo. And then from there, I was working with ELMO on a role and saw that there was a BDM
okay,
position open. And
yeah.
yeah, was sort of lucky to jump in there and sort of begin the IT sales career, which was something I was pretty passionate about.
Yeah. That manager you moved with, is that the same sort of mentor type figure you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, absolutely. That was him. So he got poached and then we kind of
Right.
went across with him.
Mentor figure is obviously so important to, up and comers, I guess,
Mm.
in the world of sales. What is it about that individual that, you looked up to, I guess, and saw him or her as a mentor figure?
Yeah, I would say their work ethic was very impressive. He would never ask you to do something that he wouldn't do, and
Yeah.
always led by example. And I value people who don't just talk the talk; they actually go through and walk. I know, as
Yeah.
cliche as that sounds. Um, so yeah, that was one of the attributes I really valued. But yeah, he'd also listen to you, and he was big on instant feedback. So I guess, if you make a mistake or there's something to be improved, he'd tell you, where the improvement can be, like rather than sort of waiting and letting it boil up.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was that instant feedback, which helped me
Did he did
improve.
he did he fluff it up? Was it blunt to the point? Right, this is what you did wrong.
It was South African, so it was pretty blunt.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
was
Yeah. Fair
straight
enough.
to the point.
Sounds about right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but to his credit, he didn't handle everyone like that. I think different personalities, he did fluff it up for some people, which,
Right. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, so he did have that sort of awareness when and where and who.
Yeah.
But yeah, to me, it was, yeah, straight to the through
Yeah.
the
But no, I think if you can handle it, I think it's often the best way to do it.
yeah,
So
that's it, right? Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So but yeah, no, it was really good. I learnt a lot from him, and
Yeah.
it really helped me sort of in my sales career.
Good to hear. Obviously, recruitment provided that training ground initially to the success you've seen since. So yeah,
Yeah,
that makes me happy.
yeah,
Um, Going back, even more in time now. You've touched upon it. Your background in professional sport. How did it transition that you went from professional athlete to working in the corporate world in the world of recruitment, sales, business? How did that all play out?
yeah. It really wasn't by choice. So
Right.
unfortunately, I had a pretty bad injury. I sustained osteitis pubis, which is like inflammation of the groin, and
Right.
takes a little while, yeah, to heal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, during that period of my life, I was like, oh shit. Oh, sorry for swearing, but
That's good. No, all good.
uh,
All good.
yeah,
Swear
I
away.
was like, what do I do right now? In my life, and yeah, funnily enough, I was looking for roles that kind of replicated sport, whether
Yeah.
it
Okay.
was in sport or had the same sort of attributes that you could be successful in. And then I came across this great recruitment ad. It said,
Mm.
"Are you this, and that?" And not
You're like,
knowing
yeah.
much. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I am. Yeah.
I can try to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then kind of applied, and it sort of went that way. I fell into recruitment due to the injury, so I couldn't couldn't play at that level anymore.
So there was just no more playing at that point when you started your recruitment career?
Yeah, so I sort of eased back into the second league.
Okay,
Um,
yeah.
in that point, I was 25. So typically, those are the years that you're trying to get your biggest contract and you're trying
Yeah.
to establish yourself. So it wasn't the greatest timing. And I knew in the back of my mind, I was like, my body isn't fit to sort of sustain this 5 days, 6 days a
Yeah.
week. So I was like, let's do it for a hobby. You still got love for it, and then
Yeah.
you can pursue another career.
And you're still playing to this day? Or sorry, in the present? What sort of level are you at the moment?
Yeah, bit washed up now, but playing playing the NBL one, which is like
Yeah.
the second league.
Okay, mate.
Yeah, so it's keeping me pretty busy.
Are you play for Frankston, is that right?
Yeah, the Frankster
Yeah.
Blues. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. How's the form at the moment? How are you guys getting on?
We're actually doing well. We're second on the ladder. Had a
Yeah.
good couple of wins last weekend, so yeah, it's a great community and people down there. So it makes it a lot of fun, representing the club and kids down there. So
Nice. Well, a
yeah.
couple how many games? Like 2 games in a week, is it?
Yeah, we sometimes do double headers, and then
Oh, okay.
want to cry on a Monday, but that's all right. That's a different story.
I never I always find basketball. There's just so many games. Like I just don't. I never quite understand how
Yeah, yeah.
how this is like. Even like the NBA, they just play so many games. Like I don't know how they like.
Quite ridiculous, isn't it?
I don't know how the players do it, or even the fans keep up with it all. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. How do you look back on your even your professional days when you were doing it full time? How do you look back on that experience? Obviously, that's something that everyone sort of dreams of. Being a professional sportsman. You must be pretty proud of it, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, pretty proud of it. Yeah, very lucky to sort of travel the world, representing your country and, seeing cool
Yeah,
places and, playing against other countries and things like that. I think
yeah,
I'll
amazing.
cherish those memories forever. And, yeah, it gave you a good chance to sort of live in another country too when I was in Spain. And
Yeah, awesome.
yeah, so yeah, I definitely cherish those memories. And, I think it helped me shape me to be the person I am today too. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, it was.
What was the biggest game you played, or like the most sort of memorable game even?
I'd say when we were in Lithuania, versing
Yeah,
Lithuania,
yeah.
um, you can tell they're just saying cuss words at you and in different languages. And yeah, it was
Yeah.
the intensity of the game. And, there was a few NBA players on that team actually. So
Oh wow,
it was a very cool experience. And yeah, we came away with a win as well. So it was like a special moment for our group. Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
And you touched upon it there. You sort of you definitely learnt a lot and took a lot from the time playing professionally. What are the main things that you took that now help you as a I guess as a bloke as a professional now?
Yeah, for sure. I would say, I guess the biggest characteristic is sort of resilience and consistency,
Yeah.
um, especially in sales. Like, I just remember, like, when I first left home when I was 17, I was at the AIS, which is Australian Institute of Sport, and it's like
Mm.
every day you're getting up, training, eating, training, and recovering. And
Yeah.
there'd be days where you don't even feel like you're getting better. It's just sort of monotonous.
Hmm.
But when you sort of zoom out and you see sort of the repetitive, resilience and consistency, that you actually see yourself grow. And
Yeah.
I guess where that translates for me in business is just even, you have days where it's not going great, or a customer's told you no, or things like that, and it's just sort of staying with it and believing in yourself, and the results will pan out if you
Yeah.
keep working towards it. So I would definitely sort of, yeah, want to say that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me there, what you just said, is the consistency. Whereby you're putting in the days after day of just putting in the training, the work, and you do one day you feel like you haven't really done much, right?
Mm,
And then it's the same as working in a sales career. I think you can put in a day shift and you kind of haven't really achieved anything, but you put that day in, day after day after day after day, and then over time you step back and you've actually realized you've gone from X to
mm,
Y, and it's that sounds like you learned that from just putting in those monotonous days and after hours after whatever weeks training. So I
mm,
think that's where so many people in sales fall down, because they want the quick wins, or they expect to get the results after I don't know, a month or so, and it's like, no, you have to go at it for for 6 months. I always think, yeah, I completely agree. Resilience and consistency, two of the two biggest things for me. Don't know if you agree.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you'll even see it in sales. You'll have quarters where they're not great. You'll have points in the season where it's not great, but
Yeah,
attrition is natural. It's just natural and human. So I guess staying with it and continuing, the third quarter might not be great, but the fourth quarter in the game is sort of when it's winning time. And if you got that positive attitude, you can sort of,
yeah.
yeah, hit your goals.
And other sports people that you may know, teammates and stuff. Have you seen in many others transfer into sales? Following their sporting careers. Have you seen
Yeah,
that like as a trend, and other people have success as well?
yeah. One of my best mates plays soccer or football, as you guys would.
Well corrected.
Yeah. Have you sort of transitioned to saying soccer yet, or are you still on the?
I never will.
Oh, that's fair.
I just can't do
Yeah,
it.
staying true. Love it. But yeah, similar situation to me. Those traits and characteristics have helped him become successful in his role. But yeah, I'm seeing a trend,
Yeah.
even in musicians and performance arts. Like, I guess sales is a performance sort of profession, and people
Mm.
who have to face that pressure, and whether you're on the microphone, a comedian on stage, or an athlete, etc. I think you're having to adapt and get feedback from people and continually improve.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of that, to be honest.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's see if it keeps going. Mate, just a couple of final ones from me. Yeah, moving forward, what do you see the sort of, I guess, the future looking like for yourself, professionally, personally? What's the next sort of few years got in store for you? Do you think?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, if I think professionally is, I guess really helping outlets get off the ground and
Yeah.
maybe stepping into a leadership role,
Yeah.
and helping others, you know, build upon what we've helped build here. That would be awesome. It's super rewarding. And personally, I think, starting a family and obviously, yeah, uh, I'm a big family person, so I would say, helping, bring people into this world and raising a family would be pretty cool. So in my
Yeah.
opinion, so
So
it's kind of, yeah.
that's on the radar, is it, in the mix?
Oh yeah, I'm a bit older than you, mate. So yeah, that's a little bit on the radar, on the blip at the moment.
Oh, no, that's very exciting.
Yeah,
Cool. And mate, and one final one for me. This is something I tend to ask people on this. It's something I'm interested in. It's, I guess, the topic of success. Um, and you can take this any which way you like. But what does success mean to you in your life?
yeah, that's a great question. I would say just having a balance. Like I said, I'm a big family person. So
Yep.
success for me is spending time with my family and friends, doing well in my career, and then also getting a chance to do sport and things like that. So I think a well balanced life for me is success.
Mm,
But what drives me is sort of that, you know, competitive spirit as well. So like, I think trying to balance, being able to achieve everything you want while living in the moment, it is kind of what sort of brings success in my eyes.
yeah. How do you do that? Like, how do you try and find that balance?
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I think just making time and even sometimes taking a step back and appreciating what you have and how far
Yep.
you've come, is what I try and do and reflect. And
Yeah.
then yeah, spending times with loved ones, I think, yeah, it's big for me. So yeah, that
Lovely.
not
Yeah.
yeah.
Mate, that's great. That's some really good words of wisdom there. Um, so Igor, mate, thank you very much for joining me on the show. Really good to chat and connect, and learn a bit more about yourself, and appreciate you sharing your journey, and everything you said to me today. So, mate, hope to stay in touch, and thank you again for joining me, Igor.
Yeah. Thanks
Take
for
care.
having me, Joe. Cheers, mate.